Instagram seems to be working today. Isn't that odd? There you go. How are
Well,
you?
hello.
Look at that glow. Of course you have glowing skin as you come on Instagram Live.
I did a facial for myself this morning so that I would look glowy for you.
Are you filter free? Are we both filter free? I got a light. I got a ring
I'm,
light on me.
I have a ring light. That's it, man. I don't know how to do a filter on Instagram Live.
That's okay. I didn't even know what Instagram, as much as I am on Instagram, I really didn't know what Instagram Live was until all this. And now you go on, it's like there are like 1,000 Instagram Lives, right?
I know, it's crazy. My team kept on trying to get me to do them. I was like, what would I talk about? Now I do them
Yeah,
like every day.
it's unbelievable. But you know what? It's a good thing. People want to hear about things, and it's our sense of normalcy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way
So
for us to connect with our clients that we haven't seen, and
I
it's
know.
great.
I was saying this to a lot of people early on when I was really unwilling at the time to talk about beauty. But what I was saying to a lot of people, because a lot of people, they at first they got into almost like their vacation mode. They're drinking a little bit every day. They're not shaving. They're
Yeah.
not wearing makeup. They're not. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't. It's okay to relax, but this isn't vacation. What's going to be good for all of our mental health is self-care. And so what if you're not
Yeah.
getting dressed for somebody or you're putting on making someone? If you're used to doing that in your normal life, you should carry out those routines. And I think that's just part of survival, right?
Totally. Also, I think what people don't realize is drinking alcohol is not going to necessarily help you with stress. It's actually going to
No,
make it worse. I mean,
no.
it boosts your cortisone levels. It's not great for your face. It's not great, in your mental capacity,
Yeah,
to deal with stress.
yeah,
I stopped drinking a few years ago, and it was like the
yeah.
best thing I've ever done for myself. So,
You know what? I have over time become less and less of a drinker only just because my body can't tolerate it. It's not that I never enjoyed it, but at 50 years old, being beauty and wellness conscious, it just became less a part of my life. Became more of like a one glass of wine only on weekend drinker. Since
yeah.
since I suffered from being sick, it's now been 6, 7 weeks, and even if I try and have a sip of wine, because my wife likes to drink wine, oh my God, it just wipes me out. And I think it
Yeah.
decreases your immune system. And you just have to be careful for people out there. It's okay to drink, but you can't use it as self-medication. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and if you're kind of again wanting to feel a little bit better or give yourself a boost, doing something, that focuses on your own wellness is
Yeah,
probably the way to go.
yeah. And
If you're struggling and going up and down.
yeah, I'm sure you would agree too. Nothing is worse for your skin than alcohol. I mean, nothing. Other smoking, maybe smoking, but
I
people
think it's
always
neck
say to
and
me,
neck. I mean, they both do different things. I think New York
yeah,
is a drinking culture because,
yeah.
we have public transportation and
That
stuff.
brings us
Sure.
that brings us to an interesting thing because I know, we've known each other a long time and both
Hmm.
of our businesses, we both have family businesses. My sister runs
Yeah.
my business, your
Yeah.
husband, and our
Yeah.
businesses have grown so much over the last several years. There's always that balance between the boutique level of care that I know both you and I like to provide to our clientele with the growth. And I've gone to Miami. I'm opening up a space downtown in addition to my uptown, and you're in LA. Culturally, what's going on there now? How you're probably hearing from both sides of the coast.
Everybody there, I think the thing about Los Angeles that's different than New York is people have more space. They're not as tightly packed in as we
Yeah.
are in Manhattan. So I think it's less stressful for people to face having to go to Whole Foods and stuff like that. Where I think in New York, I hear it's much more stressful for
Yeah.
people here
Yeah.
where you're just on top of people all the time.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, at the peak of my illness, it was actually like 7 degrees and sunny. Unfortunately, I was like thinking about what was going on outside. Now that I'm feeling better, and I am in Long Island, I can't complain. I have a backyard and it's nice here. I like don't feel like going outside. It's cold, you know.
Yeah, it's freezing here too. I'm
Yeah,
in
you're in New Jersey,
North
right?
Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think
It
do you think with what's going on in LA, I'm getting the feeling, at least on the medical side of things, that elective medical procedures and regular doctor's visits may go back sooner than New York. Do you think your business will open up there prior to New York?
My honest opinion is I don't think so. I think New York is going to open first.
Oh, you do?
Interesting. Only because I think the rollout obviously is going to be completely different for me than it is for your services.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, managing the social distancing, because it looks like we're going to have to maintain some social distancing for probably another year, maybe, in some form. I'm not saying being in the house, but
you'll be, but your clientele is, you know, I've been speaking to a lot of people in the beauty industry, hair, estheticians, brow people, other dermatologists, and, you know, at least in the aesthetic portion of our field, the cosmetic aspects, you know, we tend not to deal with high volume. You're not seeing six clients an hour. You know what I'm saying? Personally. So there'll be adjustments, but I think there are things that we'll just have to grow into. And I think we're all going to have a different state of urgency, where none of us are going to be seeing as many service-oriented clientele as much as we did. It's just going to be a new pace, right?
I think so. And but frankly, I think that the salon, when we're ready to reopen, I think it's going to, I think that there's a need for, like, people want to go back to all of those things.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if I said I was opening tomorrow, we'd have a salon full of people.
Me
you know
too.
What I mean?
I know.
But I think what I'm going to do, because my facility in New York is quite big.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be staggering,
Me too.
you know, scheduling people and leaving more time in between for a thorough cleansing and you know, all of those things that we did, but maybe gave ourselves less time for. We're going to give ourselves more time for, and that will make people feel safer and more comfortable with us. And that's what you and I both want. We both want our clients to come in and just feel safe and like we're protecting them, you know?
And our staff. You know, it's funny. I would have, because both of us too, both of our spaces have kind of grown and all these and more staff and all these things. And it's great. And it's funny, during busy seasons, patients will come in and there's this almost this level of being impressed or saying in a positive way, like, wow, there's like so much going on in this office. You know, you have nurses doing this and PAs doing that, and there's a waiting room filled with people, and you have someone doing brows and all these things. And it was almost like, you know, a chip on your shoulder type of thing. Now, I don't want people getting that impression. I want people to be like, almost like when I first started out, like there's never anyone in the waiting room. You know, there may be 15 people in the office, but you don't want anyone seeing each other.
Exactly.
So it's a whole different psychology. You know, I'm curious because I know you use a lot of devices and things like that in your practice as well. For both of us, the tactile touch is very important, right?
Yep.
Even if you're wearing gloves. Do you think you'll be more technology oriented at first rather than hands-on massage type of things? Do you think you'll be wearing specialized gloves? Do you have you thought about that?
I've thought about it a lot. So I think moving forward, I think we're going to do face masks for all the staff that are working on clients, just as a, you know, just as a mindful health practice. We always use gloves for certain things, certain procedures, but moving forward again, I think we'll just use gloves for everything. And I think that most people are going to want somebody to have their hands on their face. I think people are missing the care and just that special concern that you have when you go in. You know, you have your facialist, like, you know, people look forward to that tactile experience. And I don't think that's going to change just because of this. I just think the way we do it is going to be a little bit different. And I think that you'll still get, that care and that feeling from
Absolutely.
somebody, whether you have gloves on or not,
Yeah.
you know?
People like the intimacy of it. It's not just the treatment, it's the connection with the individual who's performing the treatment. And
Yep.
part of that is a tactile sensation. And I have
Yeah.
no doubt, I'm very confident for both of our fields that are intertwined one way or another, that people are going to really swarm back. Now, people will
Totally.
have different economic situations. The way we run
Yep.
our businesses may be different. And there's
Yep.
no question that there is going to be a new normal. But I have 100% faith in people's desire for social intimacy. And I think both of what we do for a living, it's not just of how they look after, it's actually experiential. And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes both of us quite renowned for what we do. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to come back. That being said, I'm curious. I know you have a new book that you came out. We both share someone very special in common in our lives, Tara
Yes.
Lowenberg. And
Yes.
I got to see it all. And I know that we're both going to be focusing more for our patients on home care. And I know you have a
Yeah.
skincare line. Do you see certain things changing? We know that the at-home tech market and the skincare industry is growing. I think that's going to continue moving quite,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your line and the book for my audience.
Well, I wrote the book because the idea of the beauty industry being exclusive is something that I've never cared for.
Yeah.
And I wanted to reach people that don't live in LA and New York, that maybe want to be a part of the conversation but don't know where to begin. They don't know how to make heads or tail out of ingredients and technologies and how to look their best. And frankly, I'm sure you've experienced this throughout your career. Some people don't have any idea what goes into having good skin.
No?
You
Right.
know, they think like, oh, I just wasn't born with good skin. And,
Yeah.
you know, I want people to feel like it's
It's
something that
possible.
anyone can have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wrote the book. And my skincare line is very focused on taking care of yourself. Self-care is so important to me. And
Yeah.
again, making beauty accessible to people. So you know, if
Yeah.
you can't afford to come get a facial, you could do some great things at home for yourself. Or if you feel overwhelmed by the choices in Sephora, let me break down some ingredients for you and really
Yeah.
explain what I think is important. And so it
Yeah.
was really inspired by that, that I wrote it, and just wanting to include more people in what I do, you
Yeah.
know?
It's called Glow from Within, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
the font. I love the font glow and the look of the book. Oh, she's got one right there. No, it's aesthetics are suited to how you practice your profession. So it's really, really nice. And you know what? One of the biggest things I find more and more, you know, and this is true of work that I'm doing with my book and things like that, is to really help people simplify. Because, you know, there are a lot of people that are confused, and what they end up doing is they just use a lot of things that aren't good for them. There's like this sense,
Exactly.
it's just
Exactly.
too much. And I think
Yeah.
I always push the old adage that my father continues to tell me about every aspect of life, which is the rule of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And this applies to skincare. It applies to business. I don't always listen. It applies to injectables and lasers and all the things that we do. And I think now moving forward, entering a world where we may have less of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I think people are going to have to follow that rule of KISS a little bit more and prioritize. And you know, before there was a lot of consumerism, a lot of things being sold, and I think things are going to be forced to be streamlined a little bit. So I think that rule of KISS is going to apply particularly to what we do. You know.
I think it's always applied, and I think you're right, never more than now.
Yeah.
If you have only a certain amount of money to set aside for skincare, what are the
Yeah.
essential things? You
Absolutely.
know, if
Yeah.
a client who is a fan of yours, and doesn't live in New York or
Yeah.
Miami, you know,
Yeah.
and writes to you and needs your help, what are you going to tell them? And I think that that's an important conversation to
Yeah.
have. And it's one of the gifts of social media, that we get to
Absolutely.
have this conversation with a little bit of a larger
Yeah.
audience than just the people who know us, you know?
Yeah. And listen, I think also even within our practice, people are going to some degree, prioritize. You know, I think there's this misconception too that, you know, estheticians and cosmetic dermatologists and plastic surgeons from New York, we only see rich and famous people. And
Yeah.
again, sometimes we like to show that on our Instagram and all those things. But, you know, I have school teachers and cops. I know that you have a huge spectrum of people that you see. And there are people that are coming in that are going to be like, listen, I want to see you. I want to spend this amount of money, but there are certain procedures I'm going to want. And I think, you know, I have 30 different devices in my practice. I think there's going to be a change of spectrum. People will probably have a little bit more time for downtime and maybe looking for something that is a bang for a buck. They may choose that peel that's a little bit more aggressive than just getting something with an LED light, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think just sorting through all the noise for somebody and kind of having the conversation, okay, this is going to give you the result you want. Maybe forget that, but do this, and sort of sorting through all the different technologies, even for somebody, or recommending, you know, I look tired all the time. What do you think I should do? I know that's something that you do for clients, is figure it out for them, you know?
You figure it out for them.
Yeah.
So when do you think, I mean, it's tough with LA. What do you think? You think you're gonna make it out there this summer?
You know, I would love to say that I'm going to be there.
You would like to.
Yeah, I miss my clients. I miss it so much.
I know.
You know, I think it's sort of a wait and see.
How long were you out there before? How often were you going?
Typically I go every 3 weeks to Los Angeles to do clients.
Yeah.
And then for award season, I move out there like New Year's Day, and I don't come home until usually Oscars is over. Maybe I'll fly home for a weekend here or there to see my daughter, who's 7. And sometimes they'll come out with me. But I'm usually there for like 5 or 6 weeks total, from January to mid-Feb.
Yeah, so you've really built a big practice out there. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the salon, because I know you're in a hotel, correct?
I'm at the Sunset Tower Hotel, yes.
And I assume when you're in New York, you have other estheticians that are there as well, correct?
Yeah, I have a full staff there. The salon is pumping 7 days a week. You know, we have the hotel guests and then all of our regular clients. It's a full pumping salon. But, you know, I used to go out to LA and work out of a hotel suite for many years. So I kind of built it up organically. You know, it wasn't just like, I think I'm going to open.
Right. Oh, no, absolutely. You have to. And I'm sure you see some of the same patients in New York that you see in LA and vice versa, right?
Yeah. It's actually how I wound up at the Sunset Tower. I have most of my New York clients that go to LA will stay at the Sunset Tower Hotel. And so it just made sense for me to be there. And, you know, when the opportunity came up to open the spa there, I couldn't say no.
Of course not. You know, about 15 to 20% of my patients, you know, everyone thinks all my patients live on the Upper East Side. It's actually, they're actually a small minority. 20% of my patients don't live in the tri-state area. Many of them live abroad. And it's funny because I've been getting such a wonderful, warm, aside from the fact they knew that I was sick, they always end with like, you know, and these are people from Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, London, South America, Ecuador, and they're like, I can't wait to come back to New York. And,
I know.
And look at all the terrible devastation that's going on in New York specifically. Just nice that people are reaching out and they still have the enthusiasm. And that's kind of why I feel so positive. You know, I was like less than a year out of residency, and I opened up my practice where I think you visited right before 9/11, literally a month of like lack of hope for me. I mean, I didn't have patients anyway at that point. I was working at 5 or 6 different other places trying to like pop pimples. And, you know, things built up slowly. And listen, we all thought that like world travel will never be the same again. We have to take off our shoes. You can't bring a lighter. And oddly, not only did things come back, but the cosmetic industry boomed and the travel industry grew bigger than it ever has, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we could do that, I have, you know, I feel that as things are different, maybe we'll have innovations we never thought of. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I think, that what's going to change is how we converse with our clients
Yeah,
moving forward. You know, I had this spring alone, I had 4 trips to Asia planned to launch my skincare line
yeah,
in stores in Asia.
yeah,
Obviously, I didn't go.
yeah.
And because it was all department stores and so forth. So I think like those kinds of things are going to change. Like, how are we going to do things, you know, because as you know, when you have a skincare line, you know, you have to show up for clients and for events and things like that. So all of that's going to change. But for 9/11, I was working at a spa in Tribeca. So
Really?
I obviously immediately lost my job, and, you know, it was scary, but
Yeah,
New York came back with a vengeance, as you say,
yeah,
and it's stronger for it. And I think that we will come back from this,
of
and
course.
there's going to be a lot of silver lining in,
Yeah,
even though it's been such a hard time, you
I
know?
hope so. Well, we don't want all the suffering to go to waste. That's for sure, right? And
Yeah,
I
yeah, you
think
have to
we
take
will.
the lessons.
That's right. Now tell me, you're in a much bigger space in your building, right, than what I saw, I think, what was it, a couple of years ago, right? That looks beautiful as
Much
well.
bigger.
So, okay,
Thank you.
well, we're going to put
Thank
our
you.
spaces to good use. I'm opening up downtown in the West Village. I'm in the middle of construction. I'm opening up a 4,000 square foot space on Perry Street. And you know what? I'm just as excited now as when I was a month ago. It's just we have to do things at a different pace.
You're going to kill it down there, man.
Yeah,
It's going to
so
be
always be
awesome.
good. Well, I'll tell
It's,
you one good thing that came out of all this is that I got to reconnect with you because time goes so quickly, and I got to see your
yeah.
face, and we got to share some knowledge.
Yeah.
And I promise it won't go this long till I speak to you again.
All right, darling. Thank
Everybody,
you. Take
okay, be
care.
healthy. Bye bye.